Morning, everybody. It is 8:18 a.m. April 24th, Friday. Welcome to my channel. Now, these markets are freaking insane. Insane. Yesterday, it looked like we were going to finally get some selling. We did. But where did we go? In the ES specifically, the balance lows. The balance lows. And then got bought right up. And this morning, futures made a new all-time high in ES. Now, the NASDAQ is out of control. Intel reported earnings. They were good. AMD at one point this morning was up over 13%. Now, I thought my trim was unbelievable months ago at 265. That was like near the all-time highs. Well, yeah, it's at 340 basically right now. I mean, I still hold a decent amount of shares. Craziness. It's just crazy. I mean, at one point, this Middle East war, that's whatever going on, you thought markets, people were talking about it's going to crash now. Look at oil. Well, guess what? We're at all-time highs, and it's insane. The semis are out of control. Now, this always ends the same. There's going to be a violent pullback one day. Okay? Don't know when it's going to be. This is why they say the markets can remain irrational longer than you can stay solvent. Right? Because I'm not someone who's going to short something just because it's overextended. Because you always have that mentality that can it really go higher? And most times the answer is yes. Yes, it can. Right? As for myself, yesterday, had a bunch of little trades. The one when the market was falling, I was live in my room as I was narrating the markets to the community. I hit a short and it was very quick. I literally entered it and it hit my target and then fell a lot more. Still made my day positive. My week's positive so far. So can't complain there. Now, today we have Michigan consumer sentiment. And this market is insane. Now, we did, give you a brief hit here in the hourly charts here. You did see break last week's highs, but then since have had some selling here in the ES. So ES is still in balance, back to balance. NASDAQ's just out of control, right? Semis are up this morning, 3.81%. They probably were over 4 or 4 earlier. Look at the semis, they're at $500 right now. That's a psychological number. Who knows what that means? I'm just stating the facts. Okay? So, let's get right into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Steve Gonzalez. He's market profile, to find structure in the markets, along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. That's where I come up with game plans, okay? And also, when the market opens up, I use my market internals. Lets me know what's going on under the hood, right? Come up with game plans with that. Also, Anchor VWAPs, my expected move indicator that you can get for free in my Discord, along with the gamma flip points in my Discord as well. Okay, little ICT smart money. But then all around, what I just told you is my style, is my own style. Okay, took little bits and pieces from other mentors I've had and made my own trading system. Okay, which everybody usually does themselves as well, right? It's very personalized. Okay, now hopefully you join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. I do this every day. Give you market news, economic counter, the leaders and laggards, technical analysis, and I always give you the long and short trade scenarios in the ES and the NASDAQ futures towards the end of the stream. Now, if you want to join my Discord, which will give you more in-depth coverage, My Discord's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Let me be your indicator. Let's move right into futures watches here. Oh boy. NASDAQ futures up 1.33%, all-time highs. Silver's up 0.85, Ethereum up 0.77, Bitcoin's up 0.77, Russell's up over 0.5%, ES up 0.42, 30-year bonds being bought, 10 yields lower, gold is flat, the Dow is flat basically, 10-year yields down slightly, 0.16, dollars down 0.18, crude, that's going to help markets, down over 1%. The VIX is down 3.26% to an 18 VIX. Okay. AMD. My lord. Stocks move so crazy compared to like the ES and the NASDAQ. Right? Proud owner of AMD. Okay. 11% right now. They are up. It is crazy. Okay. They're on a meteoric run. Coinbase up 1.82. Broadcom up 1.78. Semi. Amazon up 1.74. Microsoft up over 1%. Google up 0.66. Tesla's up 0.64. Nvidia's up 0.59. All right, Meta up 0.5%. And is there laggers? A couple. Not the main one is Eli Lilly is down 1.75%. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know why. Moving on. Top sectors. Top sectors. Qualcomm finally catching a bid. Up 3.78%. NEM, they reported earnings, up 2.65. Oracle, up 2%. GE, I can't even believe this, GE Vernova. You know I love my stock here. Up another 1.78%, up to $1,170 the stock. Huh. Palantir, up over 1%. Salesforce, up 0.72. Caterpillar, up 0.33. Now, there is some laggards on this list. And what are they? They're safety plays. Costco, Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's, Walmart, United Healthcare, Visa down by over 0.5%. And then you got Chevron and Exxon at the bottom. Okay, we'll go into the granular list today just for fun. Z. Look at Intel. Up 26.73%. The stock was in the 20s not too long ago. ARM. Okay, another semi up 8%. Get the point. ASML up 4.23%. I'm crying right now because I was in ASML like $600 or something. Ugh. Oklo up another 4% after their partnership with NVIDIA. HIMS up 4%. Marvel Semi, DSM Semi, all up over 3%. Okay, Micron Semi, Lam Research Semi. Okay, AMAT Semi. You get the drift. Let's see who's lagging today. Anybody lagging real bad? Charter Communications, they report earnings. I guess but that's about it, folks. That's that list. Just wanted to show you guys that. Let's move on to sectors. Ooh, oh boy, look at this. This is crazy. Semis up 3.93%. That's just crazy. Okay. Technology up 2%. Discretionary up 0.42. It's all about semis and tech. Okay. Who's lagging? Financials down 0.35. Healthcare down almost 0.5%. And energy down 1.12. Boy, oh boy. Now the one question is the ES still really hasn't broken out. It's crazy. Okay? Crazy. All right, economic calendar and news. Let's do it. All right, today we have Michigan consumer sentiment at 10 a.m. It's one star here. Do we have anything else? Nope. That's all I want to talk about. Earnings. Their earnings. I'm just that we don't need to go over. Well, we'll just go over Intel. After yesterday's, that's all it's about. Intel. I mean, Procter and Gamble reported, Charter Communications, like I said, but nothing huge down on here. So we're done with that for this week. Now, as far as stock roundup, let's see if we can get one here. Intel, crazy. DeepSeek came on an open source model, AI model. I don't see. Nope. All right, let's look at the financial juice. Actually, let's look at Trump's schedule today. Interesting. I don't see anything. Why is that? Oh, wait a minute. It's going in reverse on me. 24th. All right. Let's see. President departs the White House en route for Palm Beach, Florida. Mar-a-Lago. President participates in policy meeting. I don't really see anything there. All right. Hegseth at 12 p.m. speaks. Secretary of Defense Hegseth, Pete Hegseth. I believe that's his name, Pete. Let's see here. Okay. Intel soars on signs of AI boom for CPUs is here. Demand for Intel central processors from firms offering AI services was so strong in the first quarter that it sold even chips it had originally written off, a remarkable turnaround that sent the company shares soaring. SpaceX refinanced debt with stopgap $20 billion loan before IPO filing. China to curb U.S. investment in tech companies. Okay, China plans to restrict top technology firms, including leading AI startups, from accepting U.S. capital without government approval. Warsh quest for better inflation data is well worn. Difficult pursuit for Fed. All right. It says Federal Reserve Chair nominee Kevin Warsh has called for a major rethink of how to measure inflation, but he may have less trouble finding new ideas as a central bank than in choosing from an expanding set of alternative models, measures, and forecasts designed to understand how the price level is changing. Mapping the market S&P 500 low, likely a pause, not a cause for alarm. Okay. Let's look here. Wall Street futures were mixed, with markets heading toward the end of the week, overshadowed by U.S.-Iran stalemate that extinguished hopes of a swift end to war. Later in the day, investors will assess consumer confidence through the University of Michigan final April reading. Uh, let's see if there's any. Let's see why Eli Lilly. Is there anything in here with Eli Lilly? Palantir, Tesla. All right. Let's move on. Do I want to look at breast charts? Yeah, you know what? I do. Let's look at breast charts. Let's go to the bullish percent indexes. Actually, let's go to the 20 day. See how they did yesterday. 72%. So fell yesterday. 72% on over the 20 day. Simple moving average. Let's go to the 50. Still fell again. 60% over the 50 day moving average. Still kind of middling, right? And let's go to the bullish percent index here. 63% on buy signals. So yesterday it took a little downturn. Nasdaq. 63% on buy signals, same. Let's drill one step farther in tech. 76. All right, let's go to financials. 70. So it took a little dip yesterday. 75. Let's look at communications. 52. So that's kind of middling, right? Let's go to discretionary. 66. So that fell a little bit. Tesla's in there. Let's go to staples. 44% on bicycles. Remember, that was a little oversold here. Look, it's getting some love lately. And we'll end it with financials. 75% on buy signals. Okay. It's a little breath roundup. All right. Let's go to market internals. Tale of two regimes here. All right. There's your market internals recap. So look what led to the downside. Tech, financials, top 4 sectors were red. Okay. Got pretty weak down here. Bottomed out and then ranged. Ranged right at the previous day's lows. So once that happened, sellers were gone. You hit the balance lows. Okay. Now, we were all good up here. And then, boom, that news came out. And we were ultimate balance, and we had to look above and fail. all contributed, TA and with the news, to a big sell-off to balance lows. But now we're back at balance highs. Okay, let's go to dailies. Okay, so let's get in here. So what did we do? Well, see this day? You barely just wicked at that day. And that was all she wrote. Right up to a doji candle for the rest of the day. This pink line is last week's close. So yesterday we closed right here, which is only making us a little negative for the week. This meteoric rise, remember I said, if you're staying here and accepting prices, is bullish. Moving sideways is bullish. All right. Now, this morning we ripped up, and right now we're at 711.31. So let's get in here. Right up here. We're in the upper portion of yesterday's range. Or do we break out today? I don't know. I don't know. I would say this: AMD is going to have some profit taking, most likely at the open. Okay. I believe you're probably going to get profit taking in the Nasdaq off the open. Okay. So now moving on to the futures. Let's extend that demand zone that I've been talking about. Okay, that's been supportive. 1, 2, 3. Okay. It was supportive yesterday. Again. I mean, really, right? If it comes in here, I should just buy it. Jeez. So now look what happened. We just came up, breached last week's highs. Now we're here. Okay, so big bounce. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions. 6 sessions of balance. ES is queuing up either for a big move down or a big move up. Okay. Remember, ultimate balance. We're in ultimate balance. And we did come down to ultimate balance in the Nasdaq futures. Okay, so let's go with the Qs. Now the Qs, this is kind of an ugly little thing here. So that's last week's close, that pink line. And what we did yesterday is we came down right here, right? Didn't break these lows. Bought up and closed above last week's highs, right? And the kind of a doji as well. Closed pretty much almost close to the middle of the prior day session. Nothing to see here, right? Now we're at 659.52. So we're gapping up. Still gapping up. Okay, you'll see it in the futures. So if we go to futures, okay, the Nasdaq is very strong. Okay, you had a balance here of like a 1, 2, 3, then a breakout. Now you're creating another balance to break out, which it did. Can this go higher? Sure can. But we don't know. Okay. It's very tricky with the ES because the ES really hasn't broken out. Okay. So this is just insane. Insanity. It really is insanity. Okay. Now, we're going to go over to the hourly charts here. Let me get my marker out. And this is the hourly charts. Just an insane market. And you really just have to pick your spots. There's news going on. It's just crazy. Okay. Like I said, when I'm live in my Discord, right? I usually have a couple traders with me and not as experienced, right? So like I've seen stuff like this a bunch of times, and then you just have to wait for your moment because don't get me wrong, the market's dropping. And even in my stream yesterday, and my community members, if they're listening here, can attest to it. When I said we were in ultimate balance, we were about like here. And I was typing up in my Discord. I was actually typing it up. I said, if we go up, break these highs, fail, close back in here, that's a sweep. But now you're in ultimate balance. I said, this is a huge, just could be a huge sell off. And I was literally hit send and it was started to just rip. And I'm like, what? I go, this could be a big move down. And look at that. Woo! All right. We are in a balance. And I remember one of my community members was like, do you think, how low can we go? I said, well, we could go down to balance lows. And I said, I'm not sure if it happens today or tomorrow, but it happened yesterday. Okay. And it's just how balance works, right? Shorts get paid, they become buyers and new buyers come in. Shorts, then longs get paid, same thing. Shorts, longs, right? And then shorts get paid after longs getting paid up here. And again, longs get paid and you can repeat the process. That's balance. And every time, that's why I said it's tricky, every time it always feels like the market is going to break out. Now, yesterday, news took the market down. The market was set to go back up. I actually got long in a pullback because the market was telling me that we are poised, of course, with the NASDAQ up into all-time highs. Right? And then news came out. So, is this another longs take? That's a pretty nice wick. Is this another chance to short to go back down? It could be. One day we will break out of this balance to the downside or the upside. Nobody knows when. I don't know when. If I did, right, know when it's going to break out, I would just set an alert, go and go sit on my yacht every time in balance. Nobody knows. They tell you they know, they don't know. Okay? Let's look at the Qs. Because Qs are not in this nice balance. They are not. Qs are just so strong. Okay? They don't have that nice balance area. You're literally like trending up. It's trending up. It's not balance. Okay? Now, can we see a channel here? Maybe we can. Let's see if we can make a channel. All right, look at that. Interesting. And I was saying this too in my room yesterday. I said, there's so many ways to trade. Trend lines, channels work. It just, they all work. It's like what you want to use, right? Now look at that. Right in front of you. Look, even that candle touches it. There's one touch, two touch, three touch. Sell. It's the weirdest thing how these work. It's just crazy. Okay. And now you can see, let's put another one here. Now there is, I think, right here. Now look at that. Okay. That generally is a bullish thing, bearish. Price is compressing. You break this line, we could move lower. I don't know. I'm just showing you. That's not how I trade necessarily. Okay. All right. So Nasdaq's nuts. We're at all-time highs. There is no supply overhead. All you have is this big demand zone. Right. Now, does it pull back and get bought? I don't know. Okay. The one level that I would say to watch for in the Nasdaq would be this swing low. Okay. The 27015s. If you lose that, you don't have the best structure here. It could bring us back down to ultimate balance. Now notice ultimate balance around 26730s, right here, held the market. And I was saying this in my community. This is the test. Ultimate balance doesn't get ripped through too often, and it held it. Okay? So, who knows what's going to happen? Okay? So, that's the level I'm looking at. You just have to think, comes back in here, you buy it. This demand zone starts about 27153s. Okay, but it's very tricky. The day we see selling, even though we did see it yesterday, it just looked like a opportunity to buy. People loaded up and bought again. So that's what's going on. All right, and tech, where tech goes, our market goes. Now ES is lagging because the rest of the market isn't as bullish, right? All right, that's your hourlies. Let's move on to the market profile, line profile. You can see we've got a beautiful profile showing us bounce. Okay, here's your market profile and buying profile. Okay, beautiful balance. It's literally a perfect picture of balance. And you have your value area, right? Where's price? Right at the top, a value area high for the composite profile. Okay, beautiful balance profile. And like I said, what do? Balance is this. That's what balance is, right? Do we do this now? Maybe so. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. Now look, you swept yesterday's highs. Now we're back to where? The most traded price of the month, which is 71.62s. So how balance works, this is the middle of the seesaw, right? It's pretty much you want to be seller here to go back down to this side of balance to be a buyer. It's really how it works. And you just have to pick your spot. Now, did longs from here, right? And then the overnight opened, push up to here, shoot their shot. They might as well have. Maybe you get another premium to come down. I don't know. Okay. So we're going to get right into scenarios here with the ES. Let's break out the session. Okay. So all we care about today is, let's say, the overnight highs, 71.89s, 81s to 89s. That's yesterday's highs, the overnight highs. What do I care about? I also care about the new most traded price of the week, 71.37s. This happens to be, lines up with yesterday's close, right with support here. So the 71.40 to 33s about is major support. Okay? Major support. And then we got to talk about the balance lows, right? The 70.94 demand down here that the market came in and got bought. Okay? Now, we're going to start off with a long. Bulls have momentum still. Now, the most traded price of the month is 71.62. You can see we came up, pulled back to it, right? Happens to be the most traded price of yesterday as well. If you get, and there's the demand zone, right? Starting at 71.59s. So if the market pulls back, gets support, right? Pushes up, retests 71.65, you're going to target overnight highs at 71.89s. And then you ride into the sunset. See if you can get a breakout. Okay? Now, little tidbit here. The overnight high right now in the ES is 71.89.50s. Usually an overnight high as an all-time high is not secure. The overnight highs are never usually kept at an overnight. Okay? So, right here. Now, when this gets tricky, because we're in balance, right? Normally, if we weren't in balance, I would say that, definitely if we push back into this demand, normally I would say, ooh, that's a buy. This would make me very cautious. to come back down to the 71.37 is the most traded price of the week, because if we're back, right, this means most likely that longs might be done and we're going to rotate back to the bottom of balance. Okay, I would be very cautious with a long here. You might get something, but I would lean more on the short side if we're this deep. Okay, so right now, let's just talk about this. Right now, what I think, you need a shallow pullback into 71.59 demand. If you want to be conservative, you retest those 71.65s to target the overnight highs at 71.89 and ride into the sunset. Anything deeper than that, I really would probably have to lean short, and I'm going to go on to the shorts right now. Okay. Now the market's, we're getting some selling into demand, right? So what would I like to see if I'm short? Well, if we do pop up from here, right? And either the overnight VPOC at 71.73, right, can act as resistance here. And I'd honestly like to go back under 71.65 short there. You target overnight lows, 71.28s, and then see if you could take a ride down to the 70.94s. Okay, see, we're pulling back now. Okay. Another one would be, okay, let's say we open, drive up, remember, make regular trading hours all-time highs, right? Maybe we go to 71.90 and something, and let's say you get a violent pullback back into range, lower high. That's a short. You could take some off at the 71.65s, and then I would say if your stop is up at the high a day, right, and let's say the market starts to weaken and weaken, well, gravity is going to take over, and you're going to get a nice trade here. 71.28 overnight highs, and then see if you can ride that puppy down. That's it for the ES. Very simple. Nasdaq. Let me make these a little smaller here. Okay, Nasdaq is gapping up. Okay, ES is not. So let's get into scenarios for the Nasdaq. Okay. So first thing you're going to do, mark off the gap fill, 27156. Next thing you're going to do, look at that. The overnight midpoint, 50% retracement, is pretty much gap fill. So you got 50% retracement of the overnight, right? Now, yesterday's midpoint is 2691850. Look at the overnight lows. Is right there. Major demand, starting right at yesterday's gap fill as well. Like I said, that's pretty much, if this wants to be the easiest long ever, it's set up for it. Now, it's tricky because ES is not like gapping up like this. Okay, you need tech semis to get more love from the market. Okay, now people could FOMO and this could go higher. I don't know. Now, again, the overnight highs are generally never secure as the all-time highs. Usually, it's regular trading hours. Remember, I said that. We are close to 100% net long, but we're not at the top. Okay, but you have some single prints here. So let's break out the session. Okay. So this is setting up. Okay. Now, markets never move in straight lines. They never move exactly the way you think they will, right? That's why they're markets. They're not easy because you can have a scenario play out, but yet the market, the way it did it, stopped you out and then moved higher. It's just, you get it if you're a trader. Okay. But let's get into scenarios. I'm going to start here with the long. And I think this is the easiest long that you could possibly have. Okay. You're pulling back right now, right? So if you pull back, you have the gap fill, yesterday's highs. You have a major demand zone here. You have the 50% retracement of the overnight. Okay. So any pullback in here that gets bought and you get that higher low, you're going to target all-time highs, overnight highs, 27366, and see if you can ride that up. Now, anywhere in this demand, and the demand, like I said, starts pretty much at 27156. Anywhere in here, I feel is viable. So if you get it deeper to yesterday's most traded price, that price is around 27006, 27060s, even down to the bottom of this demand, and you get retest. Basically, you hit the bottom of demand, right? You get a pullback to yesterday's most traded price around 27060s. That's also a long. Now, below that level, remember I talked about the 27015s, this support. I am probably not interested too much in longs. Okay. Shorts. This is a very tricky short day for the NASDAQ. It's just tricky. Okay. I always say this. It feels real sexy and you'll feel really smart when you short the markets. And a lot of times it's a fool's errand just because if something's moving higher or something's driving the market, people will look to buy the pullback and you'll be like, oh, I didn't get the short. Man, I should have gotten the long. That was the play. And I've done that mistake many times where you just think, oh, this is overdone. I'm going to short the heck out of this market. This is ridiculous. Yeah, that's the bad way to think about the markets. Okay. You want to do what's easier. Which easier is a long. Okay. Now, shorts. Okay, I'll give you a couple options here. If the market rips up, gap and go, and sweeps that overnight high, now we get a closure back inside the range with a lower high. You can short that lower high and you're going to target gap fill 27156. Then you have that major demand. If the market's not that weak, I would say you probably might want to get out. That's a nice trade. Okay. This will not be easy unless there's news. Okay, that's why I'm so thinking this is the easiest play. It's the low-hanging fruit. So what you would need is news, most likely, to take out this demand zone and then see if it can find acceptance here, and then boom, target ultimate balance to 26730s. This will not be easy at all. There's so much momentum. Okay, this will not be easy. That's all I have for the short. I'm not even looking at shorts too much. This would even be probably tricky to get into. Okay, so that's scenarios, folks. Now, let me give you my overall market thesis. Okay, bulls have momentum. What did we see yesterday? The market generated information we saw yesterday. Well, the market sold off. But where did it sell off to? Balance area lows in the ES. And it was bought. That tells you that buyers are here. Okay? Buyers are here. Now remember, the markets already know about the Middle East. You know what's going on. There is no shocking surprises besides the little news that came out yesterday, but now that's priced in. Okay? Markets are forward looking. Markets are a discounting mechanism. Okay? They're future looking. Futures. So something needs to happen that we don't know in order to really take this market down. Okay? Now, NASDAQ is super strong with semis. There will be a day where these get smoked. When will that day happen? I don't know. Okay? So like I said, this makes the market very tricky because I'm all about a long looking at the NASDAQ. I see just long. Long is the easier play. What makes our market hard is the ES is in balance and it's at the balance area highs. Okay, so balance rules say at balance area highs, what the market's been doing is selling off. But then I want to have a long in the NASDAQ. You see the contradiction there. That makes markets very hard. So pick your spots today. I generally like to see on these types of days if the markets can sync up, meaning like if the NASDAQ opens and the ES opens within the first 15 to 30 minutes, I want to see that at least the NASDAQ's at the high of its session, and the ES is at the high of its session. At least be in sync. That might not happen though. Okay. So, little advice, maybe wait till they sync. Okay. Or if something's so negative, like the NASDAQ, let's say, and you're at balance highs, well, then that probably tells you a short could arise in the ES. Like I said, just be careful. Okay. Be careful. It's not easy. Okay. And pick your spots. Right. Like I said yesterday, and my community members can attest, when I was watching that drop, I was like, man, I just said ultimate balance. I just talked about the look above and fail, balance rules. Man, now look, it's falling, it's falling, it's falling. And then the ticks were super red, and I just waited. And I was like, no, I gotta wait for me, for my spot. I want to be the casino, right? I don't want to force myself on the market. I want the market to come to where I want it to. And when I got in, I got rewarded. Now it dropped a lot farther, but I got rewarded for what? My experience, the probability that I usually see in this environment, right? Because when you're trading, there's two people like on your shoulders, right? There's the, oh my God, it's doing what I thought it would now, and I'm not in it. And that person can make you take a trade that you know is chasing. And then there's the methodical trader who will go, I know this environment, I just need the probable opportunity. And if it goes here, I'm interested in this short. If it doesn't, it could keep falling. And that's the person I was yesterday, right? And I've been that person more or less pretty consistently lately. But that is not easy, okay? It's a muscle that you have to work over time, all right? Now, everybody, have a great day. We got our plans, all right? Remember, no trade's a trade. It is Friday. And I hope to see you in my Discord. Okay? Now, after all that, of course, I wanted to smash that like button. If you enjoyed my analysis, all right, that would mean a lot to me. Please smash that like button. All right. And as always, please join me every morning. Subscribe, set that alert. Do this every morning. Market story, economic calendar, the market news, the leaders and the laggards, technical analysis. And I just gave you the long and short trade scenarios in the NASDAQ and the ES futures. Now, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That is Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. All right. Now, with that being said, everybody have a great day trading. I most likely will be going live around 9:45, 9:50.